So, Brahman has these two natures, and Brahman is also what animates the world, what gives it all of its characteristics, especially in the manifest form of Brahman. It does this. And yet it does this without changing itself, especially in the unmanifest form. It is quite clear that Brahman is changeless. And that's, of course, one of the features that does correlate to the Christian understanding of God. We're used to thinking of God as changeless, as eternal, as inexhaustible, and yet at the same time we always say that God is outside the universe, separate from the world that we experience, looking down on it, acting on it. And the Gita does not say that. The second major thing to know about Brahman, and now I'm moving beyond talking about these two major features, the unmanifest and the manifest. The second major thing to know about Brahman is the relationship that Brahman has to each of us as individuals. And as you know, from having looked at the Gita, ultimately, deep down inside, as it were, each one of us is Brahman. Except the word, the concept that Hinduism uses for that is Atman. So within myself, at a level that is sometimes difficult for me to realize, difficult for me to experience, there is the Atman self, and that is Brahman. It's a different side, though, of Brahman. Brahman, as we were first discussing it, kind of hard to know whether to give it a personal kind of pronoun, because it really does seem like a more it-like God, since it doesn't have these personal features. Brahman, as we were first discussing it, has both the unmanifest and the manifest nature, but in either case we're talking about the facts about Brahman outside of us. Even if I had never existed, Brahman would have both this unmanifest and this manifest form. So Brahman, in the way we were discussing it first, is the objective side of divinity. And by objective, what we mean, again, is something outside my experience, something that will remain exactly as it is, regardless of whether or not I ever come to know it, take any position on it, etc. The Atman side of Brahman, what each of us carries around inside ourselves, deep down inside ourselves, at a level that is very difficult, according to the Gita, for us to recognize. The Atman side of us might be described as the subjective part of Brahman. This is the Brahman that I carry around within me. And the distinction between objective and subjective is slightly misleading insofar as it might lead you to think, well, my coming to experience this Atman, this Brahman side within me changes it. No, that's not the case. But it is a Brahman with which I am identified. So it's subjective in that sense. It is me. So, going back then to the first thing that I said about the Gita. One thing that we're supposed to know about from the Gita is what reality is like. The other thing we're supposed to know about the Gita is what we're supposed to do about it once we realize what reality is like. The major thing that we're supposed to do about it is to recognize, to come to recognize that we are Atman. That Atman is deep down inside me, that Atman is deep down inside you, and of course that is ultimately the same thing as recognizing that Brahman is deep down inside me. Now, according to the Gita, that is a very difficult undertaking. Coming to recognize that you are Atman, that you are the subjective form of Brahman, is apparently a very hard task. And so the Gita takes a long time, takes 18 different teachings to lead us through a description of how we might come to truly understand that we are Atman deep down inside ourselves. And you might think, well, you just described it to me. I've been thinking about it. Okay, I understand. According to the Gita, I'm Atman deep down inside. But no, just saying that, just saying, well, I've learned that, I can write it on my final paper and get an A in responsible self as a result. Just being able to say that doesn't count as knowing it. What that counts as is just some sort of lip service, just some sort of, I've figured out how to fill out the right little square on a multiple choice exam. According to the Gita, truly understanding that I am Atman underneath is hard as heck. It is so hard that one lifetime is highly unlikely to enable me to understand it. My much more likely to require, I'll just pick a number, 68 different full 70-year lifespans to even start to get close to realize that I am Atman underneath. And as you know, the Gita does have a doctrine of samsara, of reincarnation, of multiple lives that one must live through in order to even become closer to understanding that I am Atman deep down inside, that I am Brahman deep down inside, and of course the same for you. Why should that be so hard to realize? Well, think back to all of the things that we were saying about Brahman before. Ultimately, what you have to do is not only realize that reality in general is this one all-pervading divine thing. Thing doesn't even seem like the right word, but it's very hard to find words for Brahman. And there's a good reason for that. Brahman is not the kind of thing that in its unmanifest form has any characteristics, so how could language ever describe it? How could concepts ever bring us nearer to it? How could ordinary thinking ever bring us nearer to it? And yet, we do think, we do have feelings, we do have a tendency to describe things in language, to break down reality in that way. So given that, it's going to be very hard for us to understand what Brahman as a whole is, and then even more difficult to understand, having seen that Brahman is everything, that somehow that everything is also me, deep down underneath. In fact, again, it is so difficult, it may very well take 68 lifetimes to do it, and even then, you might only be half of the way, have to live another 68 lifetimes. So it's very important, as a result, that the Gita not only tell us something about what this vision would be like, but that it also tells us something about what kind of techniques, what kind of practical techniques we can pursue in order to try to come to have that ultimate vision of Brahman as the ultimate reality and Brahman as the Atman deep within us. So, bear that in mind, and I'm going to take a discursus for a moment to lay the foundation for how it is that those techniques might actually work. As you're no doubt aware by now, Brahman generates the world according to its Maya, which is a word that basically means magic, the sort of emanations that come out of Brahman as Brahman is generating the world, creating the world. And this Maya both generates the world as it really is, but also, as magic tends to do, creates a world of illusion at the same time. It's a world of illusion because it gives rise to the surface experiences, the details, the different characteristics that we encounter, all of the different features, especially of the manifest form of Brahman, all of those different characteristics, the greenness of the chair, its nuttiness, the smoothness of your skin, the person breathing next to you. Those are elements of reality, but they're also illusions insofar as they keep you focused on specific elements around you, detailed individual characteristics of things around you, and prevent you from seeing that there is a whole that is the summation of all of those characteristics, and ultimately that there is a whole that transcends all of those characteristics, the unmanifest form of Brahman.